Well, good morning. We are at the Monroe Boat Club in South Monroe, Michigan, and we are going to try and make it up the Detroit River to Bayview Yacht Club, if not further. Had quite an interesting day yesterday. Made some last-minute arrangements to pick up some family members here in Monroe and take them up the Detroit River with us yesterday. However, conditions deteriorated rapidly. We picked them up here at the Monroe Boat Club and got back out in Lake Erie, and things just went to hell. So we came back. The members here, Carl and David, and the guys who helped us here at the Monroe Boat Club, was incredible. They let us use the member slip to do the pickup, and then when things got bad, they let us turn around and come back. It was just one of those days where it didn't go as planned, but it might have been one of the more special days on the loop with the family we got to spend time with and with the people we met here at the Monroe Boat Club. So engines are running. Kathy's just coming back from walking Ollie, and we're gonna untie and see how far up the river we can get, hopefully all the way, maybe even into Lake St. Clair. Just to be clear, I want to kick the stern out to the left a little bit before we leave. Yeah. Well, we're going to miss your ceremony here today. Yeah, I think I'm going to take advantage of this calm stretch and get up in the river. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, we had a blast. Okay. All right. Watch what. Stay right there. Is that all it took? Now it's clear. Am I good on the other pole? Yeah. Okay, here we go. How's that metal pole over? Okay. Liking that probably for a turn. coming out of Boles Harbor Inlet and made our turn to the north up towards the Detroit River. Lake Erie is much calmer. There is a 1-foot chop or something on the surface, but they're following wind. So we're taking advantage of this first thing in the morning. The rain has moved through. It's off our bow, but it's moving north-northwest away from us. So we're glad we waited, and we're glad we took advantage of this little strip here in the morning to kind of make our way into the river. We feel like once we're in the river, we're a little more protected should the winds build up than we are out here on Lake Erie. You having a better ride today?
Yeah.
We've been running for about 20-25 minutes now. And we're about 10 minutes from starting to see the first buoys of the shipping channels going to Detroit River. There's 2 channels, a downbound and upbound. My friend who is a captain on the Detroit River said you can take either one and there's plenty of room, but might encounter a freighter. It is Memorial Day, so I'm not sure what kind of commercial traffic we'll see today, but in about 10 minutes here we should be entering the first part of the channel to the Detroit River. In front of us is the red and green buoy that starts the beginning of the Lexington channel, or the start of the Detroit River. So pretty soon here we're going to make a turn into the river channel. We are officially in the Detroit River, and that is awesome. Kind of a bucket list part of the loop for us. Downtown Detroit still quite a ways ahead, but we were doing some route planning. So a couple things. We have the Bayview Yacht Club, where our friend Scott on Dreamer has arranged a slip for us. It's right at the start of Lake St. Clair, So we're watching some wind and wave reports on Lake St. Clair because we may make the run across there. Our ETA to Lake St. Clair is before noon. So with 14 hours of daylight today, it seems a shame to sort of stop there, but we don't know. Then once we get into, I believe it's the Black River or the St. Clair River up towards Port Huron, we could get through that. We're protected from the weather, and that leaves us at the mouth of Lake Huron, where the first stop would be Lexington. And we put that in, and even at 9 knots, we can make that by 7 o'clock, and sunset's not until 8:45 tonight. So we're happy to be in the Detroit River. There's no waves. There's 2 to 3 knots of current coming at us, but we're happy to be off of Lake Erie, man. That was our goal this morning. And even as we got close to the Detroit Channel, the waves started building again. So we're sort of planning things on the fly for this afternoon, but we're going to enjoy our stroll up the river right now.
The water is just really a kind of a pretty green against the green trees.
Passing the northern tip of Crow's Heel. Starting to see the tops of the bridges downtown. Wind out back there.
Not sure, but we think it's a Great Lakes seal. The Rouge River comes in up here.
are right downtown Detroit, going past Chevy, Renaissance Center, Caesars of Canada and everything. Windsor on the other side. We're about to pass the Detroit Princess, where Scott and Chris work, and it's kind of a really cool experience. I mean, of all the things we've seen, all the things we've done, we're almost a little giddy to kind of go past our old hometown. So kind of a great experience.
Yeah, we loved going through New York because it was so different. But this is like when we were kids, this is our home stomping ground. So that's just almost, it means a little bit more.
Coming up on the end of the Detroit River where it enters Lake St. Clair. It looks pretty good out there, so I'm gonna stick the nose out and see what it's like. We just keep adjusting on the fly today, so far it looks like the offshore breeze pushing us across Lake St. Clair. If anything, I can't tell the waves. It looks pretty calm, or relatively calm, so we're gonna inch out there and see what we got. We are zipping across Lake St. Clair at 22 knots. There is a bit of a ripple on the water. I mean, it's probably 2 footers, but they're following seas. So they're at our back. That's how it was forecasted. That's where the winds were supposed to come from. So we are going to make it across and get into the river over there and start deciding. We'll obviously get all the way up the river because it's protected waters, but it will stay in the mouth of the river around Fort Huron, or we may try to make a run up the Lake Huron shoreline. Again, we're just going to have to
sort of put a visual on it. We know what the wave forecast is, we know what the wind forecast is, but we want to put eyes on it ourselves. So we're making plans for marinas and charting out where we can stop, but we got the pedal to the metal right now.
Dodging another storm.
We are cruising up the St. Clair River and doing about 20 knots. The winds have picked up. Right now they're coming south and they're coming up behind us. So it's not making a terrible ride, and we've made some arrangements up in Lexington if we can run out on Lake Huron a little bit, and if we can't, we have one of the yacht clubs right near the end of the river. What's the name?
Port Huron Yacht Club.
We have the Port Huron Yacht Club are going to let us tie to their wall right at the end of the river before we enter Lake Huron. So we might just nose out, see what it's like, see what our ETA is, fuel burn. If the waves aren't bad, we might keep going. If the wind picks up and it's uncomfortable, we'll probably just tie up in Port Huron. But right now we're got it set on cruise and we're heading up the St. Clair River. Surprisingly, we have about 90 nautical miles behind us today. We're coming up on the Blue Water Bridge, next Port Huron, next United States and Canada. We'll go under that. We're basically entering out into Lake Huron. We're watching the flags, we're watching the sea state here in the river, and we're going to try and make a run up there. We still have plenty of daylight. It's only 2 o'clock, and we think it's only about another 50-minute run up the coast to Lexington. So about to go under the Blue Water Bridge and stick our nose out Lake Huron and see what it looks like. We are in Lake Huron. I can't believe it. Another great lake. Looks like about a 1 to 2 foot chop coming on our port stern. And we decided we're going to turn it down and go with it. It's not too terrible. about a 40-minute run up to where we have a reservation. So, got plenty of daylight, plenty of time. Lake looks okay for now. Not gonna happen in 40 minutes, but we're just gonna make a run for it. Beginning our approach into Lexington, and got lucky. The closer we got to shore, the more the lake laid down. So overall, at this point, it's been pretty successful. So Lexington's in our sights. We're gonna back her down, get up to the fuel dock, get topped off, get tied off, and maybe even get out to go out to dinner or something and see what the town has to offer.
Yeah, it looked like this, and I thought it was a port, but I don't. It looks like the red flag. Tell me when you think you know.
We are in Lexington, Michigan on Lake Huron, the last of the Great Lakes before we get to our home Great Lake. We had I think it was a great day on the loop because we saw
a little bit of everything.
We saw some cool stuff, and we totally worked together with the route planning and the marinas and the weather, and just ended up getting 110 miles behind us when we thought we might only get like 20 or 30.
Or even be sitting for the day. We didn't even think we were going to be leaving.
After we got punched in the face by Lake Erie yesterday, we were planning this morning to go out into Lake Erie, and if it was bad, to turn around. So to make it from Lake Erie into the Detroit River, and then the Detroit River was just...
That was incredible.
For a couple of Michigan kids,
yeah,
grew up outside of Detroit, the Detroit River was awesome.
Yeah.
Then we just kept pushing. We pushed into Lake St. Clair, and we made it through that okay, and then we pushed through the St. Clair River, and just every step of the way was like, okay, what's the marina, what's the destination, what's the wind doing? And it's just one of those days where it kind of worked out in our favor.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we were a comfortable ride the whole time. We weren't pushing it or anything, so
yeah, it was
nice. It was a little windy when we docked, though.
Yeah, but when we finally pulled in, we had actually talked about going another 40 miles or another 2 hours north, and
because it was like 2:30, so we had plenty of daylight.
And we got to the fuel dock, and the wind was whipping us around trying to dock for fuel. So that was that. Yeah. That was enough of that.
Yep.
So anyway, we're at Lexington. We're trying to figure out what to do with our next 3 or 4 days. We want to get home by next weekend. Today is Monday. We want to be home by Friday or Saturday. And we got about 4 more travel days. I can't even believe it.
It's hard to believe.
We're trying to figure out how to space them and how to make the weather work with us. and everything else. So.
And how to function when we get home.
What
We
to
were
do
just
when
talking about it.
Yeah, we were just talking about when the trip is over and we are sitting on the couch at home, and we might just get back in the boat and go somewhere else. So we're going up to, what's the name of the bar?
Windjammer.
Windjammer is right here at the Lexington Marina. We're just going to walk up there.
They have really good food, it looks like.
Really good food, we heard. They had some live music. Today is Memorial Day, so we'll go up there and see what's going on and make a plan for tomorrow.
Yes.